Walker, you've indicated you drove a bus since April of 2016.
Correct.
All right. Do you have a commercial's driver's license?
Yes. Yes, Class B.
Okay. All right. And in April of 2016, which schools did you take kids to and from?
It varied at the time. I was a spare.
Okay. I guess you pay by the hour, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Had you ever driven for Brainerd, Woodmore, or Lakeside before the fall of 2016?
I drove for Brainerd. I think it's IT or I kept like a special program that they had for, I guess, disciplinary kids. I don't recall driving to Woodmore or Lakeside before, but I drove for Brainerd
And so the fall of 2016 is when you start driving for Brainerd, Woodmore, and Lakeside. All right. So how many days a week would you drive?
every Monday through Friday.
All right. And it's, I guess, 2 shifts?
Yes.
Okay. So each week you'd go to Woodmore and leave Woodmore, I guess, a total of 10 times? Okay. All right. Did you go the same way each time after you left Woodmore?
Yes.
Okay. And so you usually went down Tally Road as you did on this day in November?
Yes.
Okay. All right. But you mentioned earlier, I think, that your route varied from time to time.
Correct.
Did the school system give you a preferred route or a route to travel?
There's a route sheet that you're given from
Okay.
old drivers.
Okay. Did you follow it on this particular day?
No, that my route had already changed by the time.
In what way?
In the morning and the evening, students, like I said, get taken off or added to your stop or your route. And if that student no longer rides your bus or they want to appear at the bus stop at a different time, your route changes.
Where on Tally Road were you stopping on this day?
I don't know the other 2 streets exactly, but it's like right behind the Sonic and till it maybe an intersection. It's a house.
Okay, so it's not really even on Tally Road.
It's on time.
The house?
Yes.
Okay, all right. How many kids were there
I don't know the bus or before the route.
for you to drop off on Tally Road?
3.
3? Okay. Do you remember what time you pulled away from Woodmore?
Not exactly.
Okay. Do you remember what time the crash occurred?
No.
Okay. Do you remember what time you got the phone call?
No.
Okay. Do you remember how fast you were going down Tally Road?
At that intersection. That was would have been the second time I checked.
Okay, how fast were you going the first time you checked?
Like 27, 28.
Okay. And where on Tally Road, you said you were going 27 or 28. Where on, if you can look behind you?
It's not, yes, sir.
So it'd be above.
Before that is.
Okay, how fast were you going then? 27, 28?
Yes, there's a hill.
Okay. What's the speed limit?
30.
30? Okay. And then coming down this hill, Exhibit 8, how fast were you going?
Somewhere at a little after, I would say between 30 and 35.
Right. And how do you know that?
Because I checked my speedometer before I sent it past Rogers Tally, intersection Rogers and Tally.
Okay, well, that's back up the road, is it not?
Yeah, it's not that far up the road.
Okay, right, but how fast were you going as you approached Sunset?
At Sunset, I don't have the.
You don't know? Do you remember going into the oncoming traffic, the other lane of traffic?
No.
You don't remember doing that?
No, I never went to there was no oncoming traffic for me to go into.
Okay, no, I meant the lane of travel. Do you remember going into the other lane of travel?
No, sir.
Okay. You don't remember that, okay, and you don't know how fast you were going. But you would agree with me that you were going downhill?
Yes.
Okay. And you talked about earlier safety inspection. Did you do that this particular day?
Yes.
Or any issues with the bus?
Not other than the one that I already reported about getting my brakes changed. No.
Okay, but the brakes work fine?
Fair enough.
The accelerator worked fine?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay, well, I mean, you drove the bus, did you not?
Right.
Okay, so did it work or did it not?
It did.
Okay, all right. And so you said there was no oncoming traffic. You said that just a moment ago?
Okay.
All right.
Right there in this image.
There was nobody coming towards you?
No, this image is a little ways up.
A little ways up, okay. And you don't remember being on the opposite side of the road when you were driving a little ways up?
The crash was about 2 minutes.
Say that again?
The crash was about 2 minutes, which is up the street.
Okay, all right. Do you remember going over that elevated driveway?
At the time, no. To me,
Okay.
it was a bump.
A bump, okay. Do you remember striking the mailbox?
No.
What about the utility pole?
Not until after.
Okay. When do you say that this blackout occurred?
I would say when the bus was on the side already, coming to a stop.
Okay, all right. You mentioned a moment ago, Exhibit 59. Is that the vehicle you saw?
Yes.
That's the exact vehicle you
I
saw?
don't know if that's the exact vehicle, but it's very close to regulation of what I.
Okay, all right. Do you know how fast that vehicle was going? I mean, you drive.
I can't judge it from somebody else who's, I'm not, I don't have a speedometer, I don't have any little radar guns, the cops use, I don't have that, and I can't judge a vehicle based from just looking at it.
Okay. Well, why is that?
A lot of vehicles look like they're going fast, a lot of vehicles make noise, don't go nowhere, so I'm not one to judge from outside looking at another vehicle to say if they're going fast unless they're actually going fast like a drag race. I would be able to say that they were going fast.
Okay. And you heard the witness, Ms. Brogdon, talk about this white vehicle.
Correct.
All right. And she mentioned it never left its lane of travel. Do you remember that?
Not really.
Objection, Your Honor, I don't believe that's the testimony that was given on this.
I believe it was. I believe it is the testimony that was given.
I'll sustain as far as you may ask me questions and they respond.
You said you don't recall?
Not those exact words, no.
Okay. What do you recall her saying?
That it was mountain driving, or in the form that she said it was mountain driving.
Okay. All right. When you answered phone calls, you said you answered the phone call and didn't know who it was.
Correct.
How did you not know who it was?
Because I didn't look at my phone.
Okay. All right. Okay. And do you usually, when you end phone calls, do you never hang up?
It depends on like what's going on. Like if I'm parked somewhere, or if I'm like had the phone call occurred while I was still behind the school, it would have been different if I'm not doing anything.
Right. And we saw various images of you on the video with the phone in your hand. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And you answered a phone call when you're on your route to stay on Tally Road.
I don't have a road but before, yes.
Okay. And you would agree, though, that your phone records show, Exhibit 11, that your phone conversation lasted for 3 minutes and 50 seconds?
Correct.
Okay. And do you recall getting the text messages afterwards?
I didn't have a phone at the time. I was because
No. I'm sorry. At Exhibit 12, at, let's see, 3:21, you get a text message. Text me if you want to talk whenever you're done. I'm getting back in the bed. You remember getting that text message? You don't?
no.
Okay. Where was your phone at when you were traveling?
There's a tan or teal, whatever color, with box on the engine hood. It's in the cubby, cover of
Right.
the box.
All right. So it stays there throughout your route. Okay. You talk about at some point you asked Siri to call the cops. Okay. Where's the phone at when you do this?
I have no idea. That's why I'm pressing the button, asking Siri.
All right. Where are you physically at when you do this?
I'm outside of the bus.
Okay, because the video will show you later, you get back on the bus first, right? And you go for something at the driver's area.
I didn't see that. It shows me looking around. It doesn't show me picking anything up.
Well, did you pick your phone up?
My phone's outside of the bus.
Where was it outside the bus?
Somewhere by, like, in the person's yard. If this is the porch, this would be the bus. And this is the stoop that I was on. It's like in the field, a little bit, like next to a tree.
So you're saying your phone was out in the grass?
Yes, somewhere in the middle. Yes, somewhere in the yard.
All right. Okay. So you didn't get back on the bus to get it?
No.
Okay. How do you find it?
Officer.
Do what?
Officer.
An officer says, here's your phone?
No, when they stopped me and to sit me down, I had a student's book bag in my hand.
Okay.
And that's when I was trying to get when they set me down, they was asking me information like my name, address, who I was. And
Okay.
at the time, I wasn't thinking about that. And I just remember looking around, pointing at my wallet and at my phone.
Okay. But do you know how they found it?
Because I was pointing.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm confused. Give me just a second. Whose book bag is that?
I have no idea.
Okay. All right. And is that your telephone?
That is my telephone.
Okay. And the crash site would be kind of back to the right and behind you?
Yes.
All
Where
right.
you see the fireman's.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. And this is more of a number 41 is a larger shot of the yard. Where?
The shot is closer to the street.
Yeah. All right. Where in the yard was your phone?
Back this way.
Okay. All right. So closer to where you're at here.
Yes. So
Okay.
from this picture down here.
It was down the hill. Okay. And so you didn't look for your phone?
I did when I first came out.
Okay. And then someone found it.
Yes.
Okay. How long do you think it was before when the crash occurred and then they gave you your phone back?
Maybe 15, 30 minutes.
Okay. All right. Did you call anybody after the crash?
When I was sitting down, yes.
Okay. I believe number 11, after this call, incoming call.
I can't see that, sir.
All right. It's hard to tell from here, but there's a series of outgoing phone calls. Would you agree?
Yes.
All right. That means what? You dial someone's number?
Yes.
All right. And the first one's at 325? Is that correct?
333.
Let's see here. 325?
Yes, yeah.
All right. And you make then another series of phone calls all the way up to 333. Is that right?
Yes.
And then you had an incoming call. Do you remember answering that phone?
Yes.
Okay. Did you hang up?
I believe so.
Okay. Well, do you know or don't know?
Yes.
Okay. You hung up. All right. And then you called 3 more people. Right?
Yes.
Okay. And so what was the scene like when you got out of the bus?
The scene?
Yeah. What was it like? Was it? Some people have described it as chaotic. I think Miss Pierre described it as horror. How would you describe it?
I would just match what they say.
You would match what they said. Okay. And so people are trying to help the people on the bus, right? Where was the law enforcement or first responders? Where was their focus?
If the back of the bus, back of the bus, the street, law enforcement from line, remember, is first coming from the right side.
But what were they doing?
Helping children.
All right. Was that their main focus?
Yes.
All right. And how long did they help children?
I have no idea.
All right. How long were you out there?
Like I said, anywhere from 45 to an hour maybe.
All right. Was there ever any time when you were out there that you didn't see them focusing on the children?
Yes, it's just not. Everybody was doing different things.
Okay. But centered around the bus?
Yes.
Okay. And so, do you remember people entering the bus?
Yes.
Do you remember getting back on the bus?
Not when they sent me down, though. Once they sent me down, I no longer had any interaction with
No,
anyone.
but I'm saying you remember getting on the bus yourself.
Yes.
Okay. And so in all of this chaos and horror, and giving attention to the children, you want the jury to believe that someone finds your phone and gives it to you.
Yes, because, like, also as the picture you showed where I'm sitting down, my phone's on the book, like, there are officers that are standing around me, like, I think it was Officer Strider or Warren who stated that everybody has specific tasks when it comes to a scene. And the officers around me, which were like 3 to 4 officers, was specifically tasked to me. The other EMTs and firefighters had nothing to do with it. So
Okay.
it was split. It's not, I'm not saying that, you know, they was like, oh, you need your phone and, you know, we're not going to worry about the children. That's not what I'm saying.
How did they know it was your phone?
Because I pointed at it when they asked me for my information. At the time, I couldn't, in conscience, give them the correct information.
So when you got back on the bus the first time, but you remember we watched the video yesterday. You recall that? And you went to the driver's area of the bus, driver's side.
Yes, that would have been because the bus was sideways.
You don't remember doing that? You got back on the bus and you went to the driver's seat and you were looking around for something.
Well, the driver's seat would have been above me, and from
Okay.
the video, I didn't look up in the seat.
Okay. What were you looking for?
Probably the phone.
Probably the phone. Okay. All right. And so, have you ever heard of 911?
Yes.
All right. How long have you known about 911?
It was when I first thought about it as a child.
Okay. And so, you mentioned on direct that you didn't know how to call the police.
What I said was, at the time, I wasn't thinking to tell Siri to dial 911. I was telling her to call the police, call the cops.
Okay. But obviously, within a few minutes of the crash, you have the wherewithal to make several outgoing phone calls,
At
don't
the
you?
time I'm sitting down, I'm no longer, like, the police officer was already called. I'm no longer, like, active to do anything.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is you have the mental capacity to make outgoing phone calls at this time.
Once I'm no longer in my frantic state, I started to come down a little bit.
But you couldn't dial 911?
Right? I don't think anybody coming out of the wreck is going to think to be able to have the correct composure to do certain things.
All right.
That's why I was saying to call the police and not dial 911.
But the same person had the composure to make 6 outgoing phone calls right after the crash.
So after Miss Teresa called me and the other ones from my mom and above, I'm no longer at the scene.
Well, the one at the top is at 3:33, and you said you were at the scene for what, almost an
I
hour?
assume 45 to an hour, yes.
Okay, so you were on the scene when you make those calls.
Not above Teresa, no. When Miss Teresa called me, that was the last time, and I was being escorted when I actually met Miss Teresa on the scene, going to the
Okay.
squad car,
So that means you were only on the scene for 12 minutes?
possibly.
Okay. But you said a moment ago to be 45 minutes to an hour.
Right. That was
Okay.
my understanding of how it
So within 12 minutes of the bus crash, the police find your phone, give it to you, and then essentially escort you to the service center.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, when you were, you mentioned when you came to, your foot was on the accelerator,
Correct.
both hands on the wheel?
Yes.
And what did the odometer say again?
I'll deal with the odometer say at that point.
No, when you looked at it earlier. And
35.
okay, all right. Do you often look at the odometer like that?
Yes.
Okay. How is it you don't know how fast you were going as you approached sunset?
Because it wasn't, I just hadn't looked at it yet. I had already looked at it back when I was passing speed on.
Right. Do you remember the bus sliding into the other lane? Never did?
No.
Okay. So you're saying you stayed in your lane of travel the whole time? Okay. And so those, do you remember the marks that Investigator Warren talked about, the yaw marks?
Yes.
All right. When you talk about certain yaw marks over the yellow lines. You know, you talked about in 21. This, and you talked about the yaw marks above these people. Those weren't made by your bus.
Didn't dispute that they were. They were.
No, I'm asking. Were those marks made by you and your bus?
Possibility, yes.
Okay, and you, okay, all right. So you agree that those yaw marks that Joe Warren talked about were made by you?
Yes.
Okay, all right. As well as the other ones at the top of the hill before the crash occurred?
Yes.
Okay. That's in front of you, Your Honor.
Ms. Dunn, can you redirect?
Please, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Walker, I first want to talk about the images from the video that we viewed yesterday with the cellular phone in your hand.
Yes.
Do you recall what was going on at that point in the video?
At that time, the students were loaded on the bus.
Okay. Did you observe that video here in court?
Yes.
Could you see what was on the screen of the phone?
I think the still frames where they stopped. Yes.
Okay. What did you see in those still frames that were on your phone?
At one point, it was a black screen. At another point, it was a white screen. And like 2 times, it was black.
Okay. What does it mean when the phone has a black screen?
Most likely it's locked.
Okay, what does that mean?
Like
So-
standby mode when you lock your phone, just shut it off. Not you.
Okay. All right. So in the still photographs that were shown there, you're saying your phone was not being used. Is that fair? Okay. Okay. I want to talk about these phone records here. Okay. And before I do that, let's talk about what type of phone did you have?
iPhone 6s.
Okay. And so you were talking about Siri.
Yes.
What is Siri?
Siri is an automated device, I guess, like an assistant helper for the iPhones. Like tell you the time, whether make phone calls, make text messages, set reminders, set just basically like a offhand system.
A hands-free tool. Okay. So you testified earlier that you were trying to talk to Siri.
Yes.
Where were you when that happened?
Right outside the bus.
Had the bus already come to a rest?
Yes.
All right. So what were you trying to do by talking to Siri?
I was trying to get Siri to call the authorities, call the cops,
What were you saying? What words?
call police.
Okay. Now, did you frequently tell Siri to call someone?
From time to time.
Okay. Does it require there to be a contact in the phone?
Yes.
Okay. So, for instance, if you wanted to call me, what would you say to Siri?
Call them at a time.
Okay. So you were telling Siri, call police.
Yes.
Was it working?
No.
When it didn't work, when you couldn't make Siri call the police, what did you do?
I went back to the bus to assist the children that were still in the front, and I guess maybe according to the video to see if the phone was there.
Okay. When you came out of the front of the bus and went around, did you encounter anyone?
Yes, I encountered the African American male Bluetooth speaker on the Bluetooth for his phone. I just remember his hand being up by his face.
And what did you say to him?
Call the police.
Did you remember to say call 911?
No.
Obviously you wanted authorities to come and help, right? All right, so let's go back to these phone records then. First of all, this phone call down here at the bottom, the one that's claimed to be 3 minutes and 50 seconds long. You see that?
Yes.
You heard the state say earlier in this trial that that would have made that phone call last until 3:21 and 10 seconds. Do you remember that? The bus already collided with the tree at that point?
Yes.
Okay. Were you speaking to anyone on a Bluetooth device when this accident occurred?
No.
Afterwards, you made some phone calls, as the state pointed out.
Yes.
Who were you calling?
I called my mom, called my stepdad, and I called son's mom.
Why were you doing that?
I had just been in a traumatic situation. I did not know what the outcome would be, and I just wanted to inform them of the situation. Yes,
Were you scared?
yes,
Were you crying?
yes,
Are you in the condition that are shown in those pictures?
yes.
Let's talk about Sunset and Tally again. You see there that this scale diagram says there's a tire mark on the double yellow line. You see that? Do you believe if you came down that hill that you were in the opposite lane of travel?
No,
As you came around that turn and entered the intersection of Sunset, were you in the opposite lane of travel?
no.
Where were you? Well, let me back up. Where were you as the white bus, the white transit as you call it, approached the intersection of Sunset and Tally?
I'm about halfway with them in the intersection, so it's been like a halfway point, either right in the middle of the intersection or a little closer towards this side or something. Halfway here or closer to the section.
Where was the white transit vehicle?
The white transit would have been in this area. That's about the same as me.
Almost like your noses were
Yeah, but
coming
not
together,
close, yeah.
but not that close. Was the white transit bus completely in its lane of travel?
No.
When you saw that the white transit bus was not completely in its lane of travel, what did you do?
I veered over to the right.
Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
You may step down, sir.